Hi, I'm Judy from Soul Farm, and I'm filming this practice just a few days before the October 14th, 2023 eclipse. This is a solar eclipse. I've done full moon practices before, and they often tend to focus on grounding and calming and soothing, because we know that things can get scattered during a full moon, that we might feel a heightened intensity and emotions. You may feel something similar during eclipses as well. They affect the energy levels. While this isn't scientific, this is more experiential. In spiritual circles, eclipses can be very significant. Luckily, solar eclipses can often be associated with something positive, like new beginnings, something fresh coming into your life. However, you can still feel very scattered, unfocused. A solar eclipse might not be the right time to schedule an important phone call or an important conversation. It is probably a really good time to slow down and draw your focus inward. Great time for meditation. Our senses of intuition and insight can be heightened during an eclipse. So this particular practice is going to focus on balancing. I have no idea of knowing how the eclipse is going to affect you. So I'm going to be working both sides of the energy, the solar, the more active energy, and the lunar, the more passive. As that moon will cross over the face of the sun, in this particular case, it'll be kind of interesting because it will not completely obscure the sun. There will be a ring around the sun. They call it the ring of fire. Where I am in the Midwest, I won't be able to see that, but I'll definitely be able to see a partial eclipse, I think. Anyway, we're going to work on balancing that lunar and solar energy. I'm going to talk a little bit through why I'm selecting the poses I'm doing, and maybe when you're feeling scattered, perhaps even during the eclipse, you can remember some of the thoughts and choose and select your poses for your own personal practice according to some of the concepts that I'll share. All right, so let's get to it. You'll need 2 blocks for this practice. And because I'm going to be taking this down a little bit, a slow, more nurturing, more grounding practice, we'll be mostly staying seated on our mat or hands and knees. Let's begin in tabletop. Have your fingers close to the front of the mat. Check that your arms and your thighs are parallel. Lengthen your spine, and on your exhale, deeply round your spine. Bring your chin towards your chest. Tuck your tailbone toward your knees. And then inhale, lift your tailbone, lift your gaze, let your belly drop towards the mat. Exhale, round, broadening your upper back. And then inhale, draw your shoulder blades together as you come into your back bend and press your heart forward. A couple more times like this. As you exhale and round your spine, this is more soothing and calming to your nervous system. As you inhale and come into a back bend, this tends to be more stimulating. So as we work back and forth, this is a very good balancing kind of exercise. And the next time that you exhale, round your spine and bring your hips to your heels. Use your firm belly muscles to stand tall, lifting your arms high to the sky. Interlace your last 3 fingers. Exhale, open your right side. Tilt your shoulders to the left. Inhale back up to center, and exhale over towards the right. Inhale back to center. Pause here. Separate your arms. Bring your elbows toward one another behind you, bending your elbows. Lift your heart. Take a few deep breaths, expanding your chest and your collarbones, relaxing your shoulders away from your ears. A little back bend here. This is more stimulating to the nervous system. And then as you exhale, lower your hands back down to your mat. Inhale into your back bend. Exhale, round, and bring your hips all the way back to your heels again. Slide your hands forward. Pause here for a moment in child's pose. This forward fold now is more soothing to the nervous system. As you hold this, make your exhales a little bit longer. On your next inhale, firm up your belly, stand on your knees, lifting your arms high to the sky again, and interlace your last 3 fingers. One more time, exhale over towards the left, opening your right ribs. Inhale, lift your arms, and then exhale to the right and open your left ribs. Inhale back to center. Bring your arms into your goalpost one more time. Take a breath or two here, opening your heart, stimulating the nervous system. This is a great pose for creating receptivity, great pose before meditation. And then come back to center and plant your hands. Walk your hands forward, bring your hips to your heels. Take a moment here in your child's pose. Try a different hand position. Right now I have my hands forward, but I'm gonna change that. I'm gonna bring my hands back and take a hold of my heels and just rest my forehead on the mat. It's like I'm creating a little conduit, a circle of energy here. Take a few breaths. If you breathe deep into your belly, with your belly pressing against your thighs, you'll feel a great expansion in your upper back, actually in your whole back. Release your heels and extend your arms forward again. Now, sliding your hands toward you on the mat, slowly come upright. Let your hands come right past behind you. Turn so that your fingers face away. Roll your shoulders back, lift your heart, kind of like you did before in that goalpost position, and lift your hips just for a moment. Tuck your tailbone towards your knees. Feel a stretch in the fronts of your legs. Lower your hips and slide your hands back. Reach forward, come back into your child's pose. Take a breath here. On your next inhale, sit up on your heels, slide your hands back, externally rotate your arms, and lift your hips. You can drop your head back if that feels okay. Lower your hips to your heels and slowly slide your hands forward. Lower your belly to your thighs, child's pose. Again, inhale as you slide your hands back, come upright, externally rotate and lift. And exhale, coming down, sliding your hands forward into your child's pose. One more time at your own pace. Make this as gentle as you want with the back bend. You don't even have to lift your hips if you feel like, okay, I've had enough. We'll finish with our hands forward. Lift slightly, hold your hands where they are, curl your toes under, and lift your knees, come into that upside down V of a downward facing dog, pedal your feet. Let your hips sway. Close your eyes if you feel balanced, and get intuitive about how you're moving here. Now you have an option. If you have a more dynamic practice, step your right foot forward. If you're feeling like you don't have that kind of mobility, lower your knees. Use your hand to assist your right foot forward. Place your blocks right by your heel. Now, again, if you're feeling like you need a more dynamic practice today, I'm leaving this up to you. You can extend your back leg straight. And if you feel like you need more grounding, more soothing energy, keep your back knee on the mat. Extend your right knee towards straight and bend. So we'll move fluidly back and forth like this. Now, just to be clear, you also have the option of taking this with your knee off the mat. It's just a little bit more energizing, a little more dynamic. Just moving back and forth freely here. Then, the next time you bend your knee, pause, lift your back knee, bring your right block to the inside of your foot, and turn your toes out. Take some side lunges. This is a pretty common warm-up that I do. I just feel it is really useful for hitting all aspects of the hips, the inner thighs, the quadriceps, and the hamstrings. Then we're going to switch. We'll just go right from here Well, no, you know what? We'll bend and come back to the front part of the mat again. You have an option to lower your knee and step the foot back, or you can take a big step back with your knee lifted, but we will meet in a downward facing dog. And pedal your feet again. Now, step your left foot forward to your left thumb, or lower your knees and assist it forward, so you can decide. Take your blocks. Again, your back knee can stay on the mat, or you can lift it for a more energizing approach to this, working back and forth into your hamstring and your hip flexor and your quadricep. Now, you'll notice that we're moving into a back bend when we're in the lunge and a forward fold when we extend our front knee straight. So this again is very balancing. Exhale as you extend the leg straight, that's your forward fold, and inhale as you enter the lunge. Now, the next time you bend your knee, pause, and I'm going to make a little change here. Lift your back knee, step your back foot forward, and bring your blocks ahead of you. Lengthen your spine. Then, press your feet firmly into the mat. Make certain you've got a little internal rotation to the legs. Your heels will feel more separated than your toes. Straighten your knees, lift your tailbone, and with a long spine, hinge forward. Now, some of you can go much deeper than I am. The key is this: keep your knees straight, and then also try not to round the upper back. This is a great back stretch, I guess, but most of us don't need to stretch our upper back. We oftentimes are too stretched in our upper back from perhaps slouching and things like that. So really think about lengthening your back. I'm going to move back just a little bit for the camera and shift your weight forward a little bit, press your heels down, and lift your tailbone. So the stretch is in the backs of your legs. Standing forward folds are really nice ways of opening the hamstrings. Gravity's assisting you here. In a moment, we're going to take this down to the mat and do a seated forward fold. And you might find that that's a little more challenging. It's the same shape in the body, but a very, very different feel. Gravity isn't assisting us when we're sitting. You'll see that. So take advantage of this to really open your hamstrings. Then, soften your knees. Lower your hips all the way down to your heels. Let's take a toe balance just for a moment. Even if your balance isn't really great, you might find you're more successful here because your center of gravity is really low to the ground. Bring your palms together at the heart. Find something to look at. Perhaps it's on the floor, 10 feet ahead of you or off in the distance. Just take this rare moment of balance. Lower your hands back to your blocks. Allow them to assist you as you come back, seated. Bend your knees and have your feet on the mat just ahead of you. Fix your hair if you need to fix your hair like I do. I have really thin hair, so a ponytail slips out a lot. Bring your hands behind you. We did tabletop before. Hands underneath your shoulders and your knees underneath your hips, but now we're reversing it. So your hands will be about 8 inches from your hips, your heels maybe about a foot. Bring your shoulder blades together behind you and lift your heart. It's okay to stay here. This is a back bend, but if you can, lift your hips. Try to create a straight line from your knees, your hips, and your shoulders. Just like in tabletop, your wrists should be beneath your shoulders and your heels beneath your knees. You're making a reverse tabletop here. And if you'd like, you can lengthen your neck and drop your head back. And now the opposite energy. Keep your heart lifted as you lower your hips. Then lift one thigh, or one shin rather, and then the other shin. Fire up your abdominals. If you'd like, balance, reaching your hands forward. This is Navasana, boat pose. You'll have an option for a more dynamic one in a moment. Replace your feet on the mat. Bring your hands behind you. Draw your shoulder blades together and inhale and lift your hips. Option to drop your head back. Keep your heart lifted. Lower your hips. Lift one shin and then the other. Fire up your abdominals, and you have the option to release your hands. You can also straighten your legs a little bit more if you like. So this is your forward fold. Make your exhales a little bit longer. Well, let's see how that works out. Then replant your feet. Replant your hands. Can you move, please? Thank you. Draw your shoulder blades together and inhale into your last reverse tabletop. Lengthen your neck and drop your head back. This is a great shoulder opener. It strengthens your hamstrings, your glutes, the muscles in your back. Lower your hips, keep your heart lifted and open. This is our last Navasana, boat pose. Extend one leg, extend the other. Option to reach your arms forward as well. Keep breathing. Bend your knees, extend your legs straight. Now, I told you before about that seated forward fold. This is Paschimottanasana. I don't teach this a lot because it tends to be a little more aggressive of a forward fold than most students can do. So bear that in mind. It doesn't seem aggressive, but I'll tell you some things to watch out for. Move your glutes out of the way. Sit up very tall. This is called Dandasana. And then feel as though you're rolling your pelvis forward. Now, gravity is pushing down. It's not assisting you like it did before on your upper body. So this forward fold might take a little bit more energy. You have to practice some restraint. Rounding your back is not forming that beautiful, long, lengthy spine that I know you want. So instead, think about leading with the heart and taking whatever fold you get. One thing as we approach this eclipse, it's a good time to sort of release our control of things and just see what happens. It's a good time to step back and imagine that you're kind of like watching your life like it's a movie or a TV show. Not really trying to control the action, control the events, but watching them with interest. That's the sort of approach you may want to take to this lunar eclipse. It's the same kind of approach you want to take to a Paschimottanasana. Then sit up tall. We'll come back to it again, and we're adding, though, our back bend for balance. Place your hands behind you. This time, have your fingers facing your hips. This is a pose called Purvottanasana. You'll feel most comfortable if your hands are behind you. Say go a little bit further than you think, about 10 inches. Then draw your shoulder blades together, lift your heart. I do not have the most beautiful Purvottanasana, so stay with me. I'll move my block so you can see. Point your toes. Some of you will be able to touch the balls of your feet down to the mat. Lift your hips, and again, option to lengthen your neck and drop your head back. This is a pretty dynamic, a pretty energizing back bend. lower your hips, sit tall, back in Dandasana. Purvottanasana, translated, means east-facing pose, and it's like the sun rises in the east, so it's almost like you're greeting the sun with Purvottanasana. Great pose to take if eclipse ends. I don't know if I'll do that or not. Move your glutes out of the way. Give yourself a little assistance by internally rotating your thighs. And then let's take a second Paschimottanasana. Begin to rotate your hips forward. Let your hands come wherever they go. There's no prize for wrapping your hands around your feet. The prize is in doing this pose with patience and restraint and trying to find the stretch in the backs of the legs and trying to eliminate tension in the low back or the upper back. That special blend might be elusive. It's okay. The restraint is really the sign of success here. And then come back upright. Let's take another Purvottanasana. I'll be honest, this is not my favorite pose. All the more reason for me to do it. Bring your hands a good 10 inches behind your hips. Lengthen your feet so that you can direct the balls of your feet down towards the mat. Draw your shoulder blades together, lift your heart, and then let's take a second back bend, lifting your hips, lengthening your neck. If you're able to press your entire feet down into the mat, you can use that to get a little more lift in your hips. And lower. Whew. So let's do this with a little bit of a flow now. Inhale in Dandasana, and exhale, just lengthen forward to any degree that you can. Inhale as you lift and slide your hands back and lift your hips. Exhale, lower your hips and glide forward into your easy fold. Inhale, slide your hands back and lift into Purvo. One more time. Exhale, tilt forward into your forward fold, Paschimottanasana, and inhale as you glide back and lift your hips. And then lower. This time, bend your knees if you're like me and have tighter hamstrings. It's okay to keep your legs straight if that feels super, super good. And just fold forward and melt. Your back was working here, all the muscles in your back. So this can be a back stretch. You can round your spine here. Lift your upper body. I'm going to turn and face you. Cross your legs. Have your left shin in front of your right shin. We'll be switching for balance. Place your hands on your knees. Roll your shoulders back. Lift your heart. Push your rib cage off towards the left and then round. And then push your rib cage towards the right and glide forward. And just make some large circles with your rib cage. There was a little bit more core work in there than you may think. Our boat pose worked abdominals and hip flexors, and those back bends we were doing, the reverse tabletop and the Purvottanasana, really worked the muscles in our back body. Make one more big circle, and the next time that your heart comes forward, pause. Extend your left leg straight to the side and pull your right heel in. Bring your knuckles to your inner knee and lift your right arm high and arc over towards your left foot. And then come upright, plant your right hand, lift your hips, and open up your left side. So we'll just move fluidly and easily between those two. Exhale as you arc towards the left, and inhale as you lift your hips. Make this smooth and flowy, like you're just going along. That energy that I hope that we can bring into that eclipse of just going with the flow. The next time that you lift your hips will be your last on that side. Come all the way down. Come upright. Let's draw the left knee in and switch the cross of the legs. With your hands on your knees, roll your shoulders back, lift your heart, push your rib cage towards the right, round, push your rib cage towards the left, and come center. And make some large circles. Allow your shoulders to get fluid and move. Allow yourself to get a little intuitive with this movement. Part of our intuition is just working on feel rather than logic. So I'm giving you sort of guidelines. I'm giving you the baseline of the movement, and you're adding the flourishes and the things that just feel right. Right down to your breath. Where do you inhale? Where do you exhale? Let's take one more big circle. And the next time that your heart comes forward, pause and extend your right leg straight. Pull your left heel in. With your right hand at your inner knee, open up your left side, and then plant your hand and lift your hips. So the way I do this is I would exhale as I arc over towards the right, and inhale as I lift my hips. If you have a different way you'd like to do this, do it. Follow your own intuition here. I like to say to students, a lot of times there is something that we really, it's a non-negotiable, I say, but often, many other times, it's really not about right or wrong, but just about approaching something with intention, having a plan. The next time that you come upright, pause. We need to sit on something, unless you're really comfortable sitting right on the floor, because we're going to be sitting for a moment. So one thing that can help is to take a block underneath your hips so you can sit tall and comfortable without gripping in your hips, your hip flexors, and your spine. I'd like to practice Nadi Shodhana. This is an excellent, excellent way of creating balance. We're going to finish with an inversion, but first we'll sit upright for a Nadi Shodhana pranayama. Pranayama is a way that we control our energy using the breath as a tool. Nadi Shodhana is alternate nostril breathing. According to subtle anatomy, the left side of our spine is associated with the more lunar, cooling Ida Pingala. Ida Nadi. Ida Nadi. IDA. Nadi is an energy channel. And the right side of your spine is associated with Pingala Nadi, which is a more active solar energy channel. This breath practice balances them. So with your right hand, place your second and third finger between your two eyebrows. You're going to use your thumb to open and close your right nostril, and your fourth finger to open and close your left nostril. So sit tall so that your energy channels are not constricted or kinked, but open. Leave both nostrils open for a moment and just breathe evenly. Now finish an exhalation, and with your fourth finger, close your left nostril and inhale through your right. With your thumb, close your right nostril and exhale through your left, opening the left nostril. Inhale through the left nostril. Close that nostril, open your right, and exhale. Inhale through your right. Close the right, open the left, and exhale. Inhale through the left. Close the left, open the right, and exhale. Continue like that, a few more breaths. We exhale, we inhale, we switch. We exhale, we inhale, we switch. A few times on your own. Your next round through your left nostril is your last on that side. As you open your right nostril and exhale, lower your hands and then inhale through both nostrils. Now, breathe for a moment through both nostrils evenly. Nadi Shodhana can be a very, very useful pranayama for when you're working with that anxiety, being too much in your head, that anxious feeling. But it's best if you do it regularly. So making it part of an everyday practice, for example, you might notice the benefits over time. Okay. Open your eyes, come off of your block for a moment, and come onto your back. Bend your knees. Place your heels close to your hips. Press your low back down into the mat. Feel how your pelvis is tilted. Keep that tilt as you lift your hips. Then place your block underneath your hips. Start with the highest level, and if that doesn't work, lower it a notch, and if that doesn't work, lower it another notch. I have pretty long legs, so I'm going to take it at the highest level. Then interlace your hands and tuck your shoulders deep underneath you so that your heart feels very, very open. Now this can be a really good inversion right here. Your knees are higher than your hips are higher than your chest, and your chest is higher than your head. In any inversion, pay attention to how you feel. There's some health conditions, like issues with blood pressure or your eyes, that make this counterindicated. If you know that's you, you should come out now. But if you feel like, okay, I'm healthy, I can do this, stay here. And if you'd like to add something deeper, and you feel very stable on your block, lift one leg up. Now, if you're not stable on your block, you're not going to lift that second leg. But if you are, well, give it a try. Lift your second leg. Push the balls of your feet up towards the sky. Let your inner feet stay together and fan your toes. You can look up at your big toes, or you can close your eyes. If at any point this gets truly uncomfortable, of course, come out. But we're going to hold this for a few moments. And sometimes we're actually not uncomfortable. We're just kind of bored or fidgety. It's good to work with that. See if you can stay with something, even if you have the urge to come out and it's not related to safety or health. It's just, your mind says, oh, I've had enough. This is a great way to develop your patience, to develop that self-discipline. Keep breathing. You may find your breathing feels a little more effortful here because you've got some organs probably resting on your diaphragm, but what an opportunity to strengthen the diaphragm muscle. And then soften your knees, replace your feet on the mat, lift your hips and move the block. Pause with your hips lifted. Raise your arms high above your head, touch your fingers to the ground above your head, and slowly stretch your spine as you lower it. And as your hips touch down, extend your legs straight and take a big full body stretch. Open your arms like a T. Bend your right knee and move your hips over towards the right, a few inches. Then draw your knee into your chest. Use your left hand to guide the knee over the midline of the body. Take a few deep breaths into your right lower back. Come back up to center, replace your hip on the mat and rebalance. Extend your right leg straight, bend your left knee. Move your hips over towards the left several inches. Draw your knee in and use your right arm to guide your knee over the midline of the body. Take a few breaths into your left lower back. Replace your left hip on the mat and rebalance. Draw your knees into your chest and circle your knees. We've done a lot with back bends and forward folds, moving between these two poses, creating balance in the nervous system. A little bit of pranayama and an inversion, both designed to create balance. If you like here, point the soles of your feet up towards the sky. You can grab your ankles, your calves, or your outer feet and draw your knees towards your armpits. Just to be clear, you don't have to grab your feet. You can grab your calves as well. This is called Happy Baby, and you can be intuitive about this as well. I don't know if it has a Sanskrit name. I've never heard it called one, but it is a nice way of a last release in the hips and the low back. And then lower your feet to the mat and extend your legs. Now we're going to take just a moment of a Shavasana. I like to sometimes place my hands on my chest and my belly. You can take any hand position you want. Again, be intuitive about this. There isn't a rule. On your next exhale, really sink into the mat. Then let your breath just follow any natural rhythm that it likes to do. Now you can stay right here a little bit longer. Again, if you're doing this around the time of the solar eclipse, this can be an excellent time to take advantage of the balance you've created in your body and your mind. Soften your mind. Just see what sort of thoughts bubble up. course, it also can be the right time to roll onto one side and keep your eyes closed and come back up to sitting. Either way, give yourself a deep inner bow for attending to your practice. Namaste.